Splatoon 3 is a fantastic game, and things like the improved salmon run, great special design, new weapons they've added, and so much more are amazing for the game. But today, I want to talk about what I think are the 5 biggest problems this game has that I feel could be improved before DLC ends to make it the best Splatoon game in every way when the DLC is over. Obviously, these are my opinions, so I'll try to explain why I feel these are the problems that they are, and let me know what you guys think is holding this game back in the comments, and subscribe if you enjoy. Let's get started. This game requires way too much grinding to access specific things about it. I don't really mind a grind, and even one that takes a bit of time, but there are so many things in this game that are just locked behind needing so many hours that at that point you have to be a big fan of the series. For some things like the gold special badges, I don't mind them. They're meant to be things that only players who are super dedicated with get. However, let's talk about some of the things that are just way too far back. First off is the most obvious one. The salmon run reward system is the biggest piece of garbage I have ever seen. Getting scales from the King Salmonid fights seem cool, but they are so sporadic and rare, and there's so little of a chance to get silver and especially gold scales that it's ridiculous. Some just normal pieces of gear, nothing special to them, just gear in the previous game, requires an absurd amount of these scales, one of them being 30 gold scales. The gear system is another one. I think the ability system is a very underrated part of Splatoon. There's so much customization to have your own playstyle or different things you want to spec into, but none of that gets to show because what makes this system thrive is the ability to test and try out many different things. And it's really hard to try out anything when putting anything on your gear is either random or absurdly expensive. If you want to add slots to your gear, you either have to use sea snails on rare events that barely ever happen, or hope it's in the shop so you can use money to up it, which is random. Changing the main ability is 45 chunks, and the only way to get chunks are through various random methods. Even making one complete gear set takes so much time, let alone if you're a more casual player who plays a lot of different weapons and might want a lot of different sets on those weapons. The fact that it can take several hours just to finish one gear set holds back this system so much because it is something that thrives when you can test a lot of things. I could maybe see it being somewhat excusable if you were able to test out certain builds or see data. For example, maybe being able to test any kind of ability combination in the training room, but there's none of that. The entire system is something that gets almost completely ignored or is only used with the main abilities for new players, and that's a shame. However, the worst offender is ranked being locked behind level 10. I get it. You want players to understand the game before you drop them in a rank, and I definitely think it should be locked behind a level requirement, but why level 10? If you're a fan of the base multiplayer of Splatoon 3, you have access to one mode until you've played the game for hours at a time. At least 3 if you get lucky. On top of that, Anarchy Open is basically a casual version of Ranked, where you can hop in and the point gains and losses are so minimal that it doesn't affect you that much. So if you wanted to lock the main ranking system to be absolutely safe, why not just let Open be accessible to those who are level 5? I cannot tell you the amount of people I've seen try out the game, have interest in the ranked modes, but get bored of playing Turf War before they get there. If you like Turf War, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying it shouldn't be the only thing they have to do. And if a player doesn't feel ready for ranked, they don't have to play it when they unlock it. They can just stay in Turf War. Also, if you're doing other modes to try and speed up this unlock process, it doesn't matter very much in a lot of situations. For example, if you play the story mode as a kind of tutorial and get very familiar with the game, you still have to grind all the way to level 10 from the very beginning. There's a lot of different ways this system could be changed, but at the bottom line, these systems and rewards need to be way more accessible and require way less of a grind. Alright, that was a long one, so let's make the next one pretty short. The online sucks. And yeah, it sucks for most Nintendo games, but for whatever reason, Splatoon 3's online honestly feels worse than Splatoon 2. I've seen some people like Chugga Conroy, who I have played with in Splatoon 2 and never showed any signs of lag or internet issues, just randomly DC quite frequently from Splatoon 3 for no reason. I know for a lot of people they don't experience these communication errors and that some patches have tried to address it, but it's still a problem, and the online service being worse than the previous game just feels absolutely absurd. Part of this is just the limitations of Nintendo Switch Online being bad in general though, so there's not too much to say here, but it inevitably creates some really awkward and disappointing moments. Number 3, the map design. This is such a big topic, I did a giant 34-minute video on it, but to say kind of the main problems here. It leads to the same type of gameplay everywhere, it is very stally, very special dependent, and it limits a lot of playstyles and freedom you can do even at a more casual level. It also takes away from a lot of the unique identity of the Splatoon series. Do you know that Brine Water at most has 2 paintable walls on it? A lot of the design decisions in terms of the maps just drastically limits the amount of unique gameplay the game mechanics allow you to provide, and having the mechanics of the game and the maps that you're playing on conflict with each other really hurt more than you might think. For number 4, let's talk about private battles. Great for having fun with your friends, but super underutilized. Right now, all you can do is disable the sub-abilities. Not even abilities as a whole, just sub-abilities. Even in Splatoon 2, at least at the end of that game, you could do night modes on all the stages and choose your ink color for them and of course access the Splatfest stages. I have no doubt we'll have access to the tricolor ones and maybe the colors, but we could do so many more options. What about having the option for infinite specials and having a really cool special battle fight, or an infinite ink tank, or maybe disabling sub-weapons, or having a random weapon pick option for some kind of fun PB. You could even go further with this and make some small game modes, like hide and seek, maybe having one team be unable to splat the other team. Not to mention the most fun and easy to implement setting, custom kits. Come on. There's definitely a lot more you can do, but the bottom line is that there could be so much more customization and fun ways to experience the game with your friends that just aren't even being attempted. Now for the last one, I could pick something simple like rotations, which are a bit limiting, but honestly in this game once League is added, there'll be a rotation available for every single mode at once and so many maps that I think it'll honestly not be that bad. Instead, I'm gonna talk about the update cycle, and I've said before that I'm more of a fan of the seasonal model than the weekly weapon drops, and as a whole, I think Fresh Season got a bit better, but honestly, there's one big problem for me. The middle of the season is just absolutely abysmal. The balance patches haven't been anything significant, and there's pretty much no other things happening between them. ProChara here. Yeah, so a little bit before this video went live, they did actually drop a good balance patch. This has to remain consistent to be worth it though, and even with that is not enough content. We could use a bit more content anyway, so why not have some of this extra stuff be in the middle of the season? Maybe just a few weapon kits, a returning Salmon Run stage, and a few new songs. Just something to spice it up a little bit before we start getting news of the next season. I think a good part of the live service game is frequently giving people ways to be invested, and once every 3 months to get significant content updates just isn't enough to me. I think if they did a bit more with the mid-season updates, it would be so much easier to keep people consistently playing the game, and that could help out a lot. But there you go. That's my 5 things I think Splatoon 3 could be doing better. Let me know yours in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.